President Biden is meeting with two key allies to build a united front against North Korea and China at Camp David today. Japan's prime minister and South Korea's president say their countries are committed to each other and ready to respond to threats in the Pacific. Christina Ruffini is at the White House. Christina, good morning.
Good morning. Well, surprisingly, this is the first ever standalone meeting between these three countries, and the location they've picked, Camp David, is no accident given its history of diplomatic milestones, and it shows how seriously the Biden administration and the two visiting leaders are taking this summit. The goal is to improve communications between the three countries that have common security objectives and a common interest, countering China. Now, senior administration officials say the leaders will establish a new hotline to consult more readily on any emerging threats. And all of this comes when all three nations are very concerned about China's military and economic ambitions, along with its increasing ties to Russia, as well as an increasingly isolated and unpredictable North Korea. And although Japan and South Korea are both allies with the United States, they've got a long and difficult history with each other. But they know that only by working together and with the U.S. will they be in a good enough position to counter whatever threats may come their way. Wendy?
All right, Christina, why is it so rare that they are having this meeting?
It seems a little bit counterintuitive to Americans because we think of both these countries as allies, and they are both allies of the United States, and they have a lot of common security geopolitical goals. But there's a long history of diplomatic tensions between these two nations that date all the way back to World War II and even further when Japan was an occupying force in Korea. That's been a big point of contention. The South Koreans don't think the Japanese have properly atoned for that. The Japanese get very upset about the rhetoric coming out of Korea. And, you know, all politics are local. That's even true on the international stage. Both these leaders have to run for re-election. So they have to find a very difficult balance between doing what's right on the big picture for their nation to get their position in the best security position in the region to counter threats from China and North Korea, while also understanding the concerns of their domestic populations. So it's hard for politically, it's hard for the leader of South Korea and the leader of Japan to have a meeting because of all that political baggage that comes with it. But they did meet back in March. That was the first one in almost 10 years. And this is another sign that these two countries are pulling closer together. And part of that is pressure from China, from Russia, from North Korea, and even from the United States saying, look, guys, we've all got the same goal here and we need to work together to pursue it.
Has there been any kind of response from China or North Korea about the summit?
North Korea, not officially, but the Chinese foreign minister did say a statement that this summit is accusing the U.S. of assembling exclusionary groupings and practices that intensify antagonism and undermine the strategic security of other countries. Basically, they're saying we're playing favorites and cliques are not good for geopolitics. So you can expect there to be some sort of a reaction after the summit as well. You know, China tends to wait and bide its time, and I'm sure there will be some sort of pushback and response. Nothing overt yet from North Korea, but there are more actions that could be taking place later today that could spawn more of a response. And, you know, we'll have to see what kind of deliverables come out of this summit. They're not expecting something big. We shouldn't be expecting a major diplomatic breakthrough, but one really isn't needed, right? Because these countries do all talk to each other and they are allies. But what we're going to see is announcement of new channels, and even literally a new channel. They're going to announce this hotline where they can call each other more readily, a direct line to kind of deconflict and coordinate when they see threats from North Korea and threats from China and even Russia bubbling up on the horizon.
This is the first time President Biden is hosting foreign leaders at Camp David. So what's the significance of that?
Well, Camp David is this storied place, right? You've got the Camp David peace accords between Egypt and the Israelis, won Jimmy Carter a Peace Prize. Like I said, we're not expecting any Peace Prize winning outcomes here. But it's symbolic not just in the United States, but around the world. It's a status thing, and it shows that this is not just a lunch at the White House, right? This administration, the past administration, and the administration before that have all come into office saying, we're going to pivot to Asia. That's where we want to focus our resources. It's where we need to look. We need to pull out of the Middle East. We need to focus our assets on countering China, on countering Russia. And I've watched almost every time this is said in the first couple months, and then something happens in another region, and the administration gets distracted and resources get pulled the other way. So the Biden administration is trying, as the Trump administration did, as the Obama administration did, to really mean it and pivot to Asia and focus on these nations and focus on these allies and prove to these allies that the U.S. is serious about it. This is not just rhetoric, that the U.S. is going to be there no matter who's president next to back them up. They're also trying to put in place a durable enough relationship that no matter who takes office after the election, it will keep going. And that's something the U.S. has had to reassure a lot of our allies about. So they're trying to put together something that will withstand the turbulent nature of current American politics.
Lots to watch. Christina, thank you.
Thanks so much.